was a whole different atmosphere, him on the radio, listening to him talk about a serious topic. Pretty well informed. Their offices were in New York at the time, so he was kind of giving a play-by-play as to what was happening in the city. It was just amazing. I mean, my ears were glued to it until I got home and immediately turned on the television and tuned into the television. It was pretty much, the coverage until I went to bed, what was going on. Scary stuff.
At first, I mean, I was just in my dorm room, and a few of my roommates or floor mates and stuff like that were kind of freaking out a little bit because they had people from New York and New Jersey that they knew were in there. But it was kind of panic because we're in a city. There's big buildings there. Yeah, it's Providence, but it was like at that point you didn't know what was going to happen next. It was kind of like a lot of people that are unsure of what was going on, especially being in the city. Maybe they were landing something at every city. Who knows? But
I mean, I remember it very clearly. Watching it, I remember seeing it for the first time. Watching it again brings back all those same kind of memories of just it's unbelievable. Just to see these planes crash into the building, to see the fire, to see the panic in the streets. It brings back some of those feelings too of anger and some mistrust as to who would do this and why, and then why target these innocent people on a plane and these people in a building. What do? They weren't military per se. They weren't over in a foreign country impeding the lives of anyone else. They were just people going to work, everyday citizens. So that's hard. It's hard to think of that way. They didn't do anything to bring it on themselves.
At the time, I think everybody was pretty much thinking about locally the police and the fire and firemen and that firefighters, and that they were heroic, trying to rescue as many people and help people. After the fact, when we found out more of the details, I don't know if they could have done a better job, but it sounded like maybe they could have done more than they did to prevent it. Hard to say. But, I mean, they implemented a lot of things afterwards. Nobody's getting in a cabin of the cockpit of a commercial plane anymore. That's not going to happen. And I guess we're just more aware now that things can happen.
I don't know. I know that's a hard question. I don't really know. I think that the U.S. citizens and the government were smart not to react so quickly, like many people wanted to be. They want an immediate reaction. Something happens, they want a reaction right away. I think it was smarter to take time and to try to get as many facts as possible together. Yeah, I would hope that they handled it the right way. I don't know how I would have handled it differently.
Well, as far as 9/11 goes, I mean, it's still one of those situations where it's never really happened in our history, with the exception of Pearl Harbor, that someone would cross the borders and intentionally attack the United States of America. I think that's unacceptable, and I think vindication still needs to take place, and that should never be allowed again.
It was the first time I could ever remember there being no planes in the sky. And I guess I was just sensitive to the quiet. I noticed it. That it was just really quiet everywhere. And people were quiet. I tried to go about your business, Not like nothing happened, but we weren't directly physically affected, so went back to work the next day.
From a professional perspective, it just makes you think of other areas that you need to focus on other than just putting out fires or going to medical calls. It's basically hazardous materials, with an attitude. That's what terrorists are. Hazardous materials have been around for hundreds of years, and we treated them as such. And they're a danger to society when not handled properly. But when it's handled by terrorists as such, it becomes hazardous material with an attitude and a whole lot more dangerous.
I don't feel unsafe or scared to do things or go up in tall buildings. Maybe I think twice about it, but it doesn't stop me from doing anything. Just hope people figure out a better way to state their cases.
I love the idea that